kulanti wacan oo wanaagsan daawadayaal ku soo dhawaada Dalmar TV. Maanta waxaan inii haynaa waraysi aan la yeelanay gudoomiyaha gobolka Ohio, Governor Mike DeWine, oo aan fursad u helnay dhowr su'aalood inaan weydiino. Daawasho wacan oo xiiso leh. And now join us is the governor of our great state, Governor Mike DeWine. Governor, welcome to Bullshit Show.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
Governor, let me ask you by starting with this. Is there a planned response for resurgence or increased COVID-19 due to the state opening? Is there a plan that's set for that?
Well, we're really in a kind of a different phase now. We're all learning to live with the COVID-19, but it's not gone away, as we all know. It's very much here. In fact, in some parts of Ohio, we're seeing a spike. Southwest Ohio, for example, the Dayton area, the Cincinnati area. So we all have to continue to be careful. We have opened up most of Ohio. Most businesses are now open. We're looking forward to having schools open in the fall. But, you know, we all still have to remain very, very careful. Keep our distance as much as we can. When people are out in public, it's safer if they wear some sort of mask. And these are things that, you know, we continue to encourage people to do.
Will there be any kind of restriction or safeguard against another COVID-19 outbreak in order to prevent disease from growing out of control in the future?
Well, what we certainly hope does not happen is that we have a real huge spike in COVID-19. And, you know, I think there's a real desire on the part of the people of the state of Ohio to really get back to, quote, normal, back to work, back to doing the things that we like to do. But what I remind people is that increasing our jobs and getting out and enjoying life, that's not inconsistent, you know, with also keeping the virus down. Because if the virus comes back and comes back strong, people will become afraid. They will stay home. They will back off, and our jobs will start, you know, going down again. So keeping Ohio safe really depends on what Ohioans are doing. Ohioans' willingness to keep a distance, 6 feet distance, that's social, what we call the social distancing, wash their hands a lot. At the same time, you know, if they can, wear a mask and be careful. So these are really the key things that's going to determine whether or not we are hit again with a real spike in the number of our cases. I mean, they're fairly steady now. We've kind of plateaued out at the number of deaths. They continue, but they're not going up. They're not really going down. The same way with hospitalization, it remains the same. Today, we had an increase in cases statewide. But if you look back at the last 21 days, statewide at least, you've seen pretty much a decline in the number of cases.
Governor, you recently created a minority task force to examine the disproportionate numbers of the minority. And now, as within all immigrants, it comes within the umbrella. Now, is there a way that a specific task force that can reach out not only the Somali community, but also the Nepali community?
Absolutely. You know, we have a task force that's focused on health. Ursel McElroy, who heads up our Department of Aging, Alicia Nelson, who is my point person on the drug problem. I've asked both of them to head that up and co-chair that. So they're working on health issues related to minority communities. And so I would really invite anyone that is interested in helping, you know, to contact the governor's office. Again, Ursel McElroy, who heads up our Department of Aging, Lisa. So those two are really, you know, the right people to contact. Alicia Nelson and Director McElroy are the people that they should contact. But we want to expand that. We want to get more people involved. We want to make sure we have every minority community that is in Ohio to be represented.
A lot of protests regarding on the police brutality. Will there be a general standard to retrain all police departments throughout the state?
Yes, we think that there should be basic minimum standards for all police officers in the state of Ohio. We have about 35,000 men and women in law enforcement around the state. We have over 800 police departments. Some of these departments are very small. One of the things that I think is very important is that these police department members, whether they are in a small Cedarville, Ohio, Ada, Ohio, Oxford, Ohio, small community, or whether they're in a bigger community such as Columbus, that they get training and that they have training every single year. And so that's something that we're working with the legislature to increase that training. We want them to have specific training, for example, in de-escalation. How does a police officer de-escalate a situation that looks like it could be a dangerous situation and get out of control? How they calm the person down. Specific training in what's referred to as implicit bias, which is basically that all of us carry some baggage, all of us carry some built-in biases because of our background or our upbringing or something. But recognizing that we have those biases is really important. And so training in that is important. Training to recognize people who have a mental health problem and how you deal with someone, if you're a police officer who has a mental health problem. So all of that training is very important, and we want to make sure that every police officer in the state of Ohio gets that training.
Unfortunately, there are many businesses suffer throughout this protest, which they were already suffering due to COVID-19. Is there any package that maybe the state can help out those businesses who have already been damaged due to the protest?
Well, our small businessmen and women certainly have been the ones that have been hit the hardest by the COVID-19. And then we came along in Columbus and Cincinnati and other communities, and the peaceful protests, which we encourage. There were some people in that group who turned violent, some people who burned down small businesses, some people who looted small businesses. And so once again, you had small businessmen and women, many times from a minority population, who really suffered the most. And that is, to me, one of the most saddest things that there is to see is how they have been hit. There's really no state specific program to help in that area. There are, of course, the federal programs that came about, what's called the CARES Act, which helps small businesses, help them pay for some of their employees. But there's no specific state program to get any kind of money directly to these individuals. What we're seeing is, of course, the state budget is not in great shape. We have to balance our budget every year. The federal government gets to print money. We don't get to print money. We have to balance our budget. And as the COVID-19 increased, and we saw a shutdown in the economy, and we saw people become unemployed, and the cost to state government for social services goes up, and of course the revenue to the state government goes down. So we've had to make some very significant cuts.
Finally, what is your final message to our viewers?
Well, I want to be the governor for every Ohioan, 11.7 million Ohioans, no matter where you live, no matter what you do, what your background, whether you're a first-generation immigrant or whether your family's been here for 7 or 8 generations. We want you to feel part of Ohio, to be part of Ohio. We're continuing on this COVID-19. One of the things I would encourage you to do is seek out testing. Testing is now free. Testing is now available. We're announcing sites where the testing is taking place, particularly people who might be in a zip code where there's a heavy incidence of the COVID-19, but really anyone qualifies for that. So get tested, keep your social distance, be safe, take care of your family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor.